The budget meetings for 2022 are back in session, and we have our EMS department today at 3 o'clock. Before we do that, so no one, I have to leave for about 10 till for a Zoom call that Marissa's going to make sure I'm set up for. And so it's not, it will have nothing to do with your presentation. I just have to leave. And Commissioner Lewis will be chairing after I leave, if in fact we're not done. Okay, with that, let's begin. If you'd like to introduce everyone that's representing EMS today.
I promise to be done well before 10 till.
It won't be an issue then.
I only have 9 slides, so afternoon. I'd like to introduce everybody who's representing EMS today. I'm Jeff Bishel, Director of Delaware County EMS. To my left and behind me is Assistant Chief of Operations Eric Burgess, Assistant Chief of Administration Jen Cochran, and our Fiscal Coordinator, Linda O'Rourke. One thing I would like to state before moving forward on the presentation is that myself and Linda found an issue on the budget that we did upload into OpenGov this morning. So the numbers that you have in front of you from OpenGov are not accurate. We're not able to update them until after this presentation, but I am happy to say they're accurate in a positive, or they're not accurate in a positive way, as in the budget will be a little lower when they're updated.
Hey, you just confused me. So are you, I thought I understood you, and then that last, so are the numbers overstated?
Yes.
On the expense side?
Yes.
And so it's positive in the sense that the budget will be less.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I accidentally double budgeted the increase to.
So we will get a clarification and the numbers will be redone.
Yes.
Okay, with that, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
All right. And every decision that our organization makes, it's made with the community we serve in mind. Our motto is a reminder of our commitment. In every decision, we will ask ourselves, does this stay true to our promise of commitment to committed to community? This year's request follows our strategic plan. In 2021, we implemented the EMT hiring process. We started the physical abilities testing, continued the core competencies testing and protocol exam, implemented operative IQ, launched our shift clinical educator program, and implemented a lot of technology upgrades to station communication with the fiber extension, etc. The fiber extension is not completed, but we have been getting email updates that has begun. In 2022, some of our biggest requests will be to increase training. We want to apply money towards leadership and professional growth and specialized skill courses. I should have made that a different color than red. That is hard to see on the screen. Another request in the 2022 budget is the increase in on-duty fitness. As you're all aware, we have exercise physiologists come around to the stations and help our crews stay healthy, stretch, work out. And this coming year's budget, we're requesting to actually increase the amount of hours that they're at our stations. We also would like to purchase new equipment for our stations to increase the types of exercises that our staff is able to do. Our simulation lab in 2021 ran about 132 times. When you calculate the amount of crews and shifts that have gone through, and it happens quarterly. So it's well used. Our training captain and our CQI captain and our medical director are highly active and highly involved in that. And in 2022, we look to, again, purchase equipment to upgrade our simulation lab and to add to the quality training that we are providing internally to our providers.
Is that used solely by EMS, or also the fire departments around the county are also using it?
We've had fire departments join us. I don't think we've had one in a while, but when it was up here at the building 2 doors down,
The new dental office.
the new the optometrists. Get the
It is
glasses
available
in
and
front.
encouraged, I suppose my
Yes,
question.
yes, sir.
Okay.
And then also in 2022, we're looking to strengthen our wellness and mental health programs. We did budget for a retainer last year. We were unable to put that to paper and actually get that program off the ground. However, we hope to add a therapist retainer this year so that therapists will be readily available to our staff. Our capital purchases for 2022 are at $680,000. That's up just $18,000 from last year. 2 ambulances with power load systems and radios totals $480 to replace multiple high mileage ambulances. Those power load systems themselves are roughly $100,000, and then the traffic preemption system is $100,000 as well. The traffic preemption system is a kind of a moving target that we're working with the county engineer's office and the city on, as well as ODOT, to put preemption systems on state routes within the county. What this is when an ambulance is responding and coming up on an intersection, it will send a signal to that intersection to turn the light green, so our ambulances can safely pass through it instead of trying to clear an intersection with red lights. So there's a number of state routes throughout the county that we're looking to get this preemptive system on. And there's been some discussion with the work comp fund that maybe it would come from there, but as for right now, it's budgeted to come out of the capital funds.
You think it could come from where? From state dollars? Is that what you're suggesting? Or?
I wasn't aware of that, but that's okay. That's possible.
There was the last time we met to go over the work comp fund request, we had kind of a discussion about the preemption system. It was unsure of if it can come from there, and until we completely figure that out, Cy and told me to put it in the capital purchases. Our expenditures for next year are up just 0.7%, or an increase of $16,666. Our compensation for next year is up 5.8%, or an increase of $660,570.06, and this includes the 3 EMS floor positions that I met with each of you about. Revenue next year is expected to increase from from a little over 1.1 million to an additional $200,000, or a little over 1.3 million. Associated organizations with Delaware County EMS or the Pre-Hospital Care Board. We are still looking to implement the Common EMS protocol that's supposed to launch the first of the year. ABL systems supposed to be implemented by August 21st of this year. There has been some delays in that, and that'll be slowly getting rolled out on enhanced training opportunities through the simulation lab. Commissioner Merrill, as you asked earlier, we do offer this to any department in the county that would like to join us. The peer support group, Delaware County first responders and law enforcement agencies, has a 26-member team, and we enhanced the training and resources in 2021. In summary, the budgetary increase in total is about 4.8% over last year. That breaks down to the non-compensation increases of the $16,666, compensation of $660,570, capital increase of $18,000, and then there's a revenue increase of $200,000 there to offset some of that $695,000 increase. Any questions?
Questions?
The simulation, could you tell me a little bit more about that simulation lab? What does that, what is it?
Down at Station 7 in Genoa Township, we have a whole side of the building dedicated to training and simulations. Quarterly, at the minimum, crews come in through the simulation lab and work on scenarios based off of internal need, typically. And so what would occur is they would come in and they'd be run through some sort of scenario like childbirth and issues involved in childbirth. There would be a presentation given to them, they run the scenarios, and there's a debrief. Most of the time, there's either the medical director or a EMS fellow is present as well, and they're giving continuing education credits afterwards, and it's just one of the ways we do hands-on training and put them through real-life scenarios.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Mr. Bennett, do you have some questions?
Yeah, how's the revenue coming along? I know we started that, 4 or 5 years ago probably, where we did the soft billing, and what would drive a 20% increase? I know the rate went up like 5% or 6%, but that leaves another 14% or something like that beyond that.
Because what I've seen historically is we've kind of been conservative in projecting what our revenue is going to be, and we keep going over it rather dramatically
Oh,
each
so
year.
you're trying to
Trying to be realistic with what the number is going to
okay,
be.
okay.
We keep going over it each year by a good amount. And then there's the Medicare increase as well. So I'm trying to put a more accurate revenue out there.
Okay. Okay. We need you to talk to Auditor Keitza.
About that.
He has a revenue commission.
Gotcha.
We just had this speech last session. didn't we?
Yeah, we just had, and every
In
year
reverse.
we significantly beat the sales tax revenue.
Right.
So, anyway, just kidding, we don't need you. But, so again, it's pretty straightforward, Jeff. How many ambulances have you bought this year?
This year we bought 2, but we still have not received them.
Okay,
We won't get them until,
We ordered those in February, and they're projecting we'll get those the middle of next summer. So it's
are
the
you
same-
serious?
Gee,
It's the same trouble everyone else has.
Almost a year and a half.
yep,
What about the ones you're budgeting for next year?
we would probably have the same timeline.
Sort of delay?
Yeah, and so that's kind of our big thing, looking down the road. We already have high mileage ambulances we would like to replace, and it's only gonna be even further along by the time we actually get these ambulances.
Okay,
I've been putting together, I've been pulling quotes to put together a resolution on the ambulances, and Stryker, the company that does our cots, our stretchers, they informed me that next year is a 7% increase on all of their equipment as well. So not only will it save us to order this year and not hit the 10% increase on the ambulances, but the power load system is gonna increase significantly next year as well.
so we can lock in
The rates for this year.
prices
Yeah.
if we order sooner,
But we'll still be paying for it next year?
Correct.
So. okay.
or whenever they
'Cause that was the
arrive.
question, was it gonna be paying for it in this year's budget? Or was it gonna
We
be in the
would pay
next
when
year?
they
Or in
arrive.
23 if they're next year's order.
We would pay when they arrive.
Yeah,
Okay.
but to Karen's
Okay.
point,
Okay.
or be 23 if
If they
we have
come.
another year and a half delay.
Okay.
So there's no deposit, nothing up front.
No.
Yes.
How many, just kind of give me an overview of the fleet. We've invested a lot of money in the updating, and modernizing the fleet. How many frontline vehicles do we have in service now? 11 each, one for each station?
Yes.
How many reserve units do we have? 5 reserve units? What, of the 11 that are frontline, what's the mileage of the worst? What's the highest mileage of those?
I think the last I looked was 89,000 of the front line.
Yeah, okay,
That's of the front line, and our reserve fleet. What's really difficult about our fleet is that obviously there's preventative maintenance and stuff breaks on ambulances. And when our crews change out of their frontline fleet and get into the reserve fleet, now we're talking about putting them in an ambulance that
sure.
is over 10 years old a lot of times, and
It's in the reserve fleet for a reason.
yeah.
Okay.
So you put about 9,000 miles a year on these ambulances? You said 89,000, you said 10
That's the-
years.
Oh, I was gonna say, that's the most.
It depends on the truck. The busier truck, the Sunbury truck will put probably about 20,000 to 30, probably about 30,000 miles a year. It's got longer transport times, it takes the most runs, so it's out and about more than, say, the truck out of Radnor.
I can send it to each one of you. I have a 10-year projection, and then Captain Moore, who put together the projection for us, kind of showed what the mileage per year is typically on those ambulances. But like Chief Burgess was saying, it's dependent on the ambulance and what area it serves.
So what's the expected life of an ambulance on average? Is it 5-6 years, or is it 7 or 8 years, or?
In this county,
Yeah.
I would say 5 would be on our busiest, and then, you know, as you go out and look at Radnor or
Less active?
Harlem or something like that, you could really space that out a little bit more.
Okay. Well, it looks like we're probably there then, if we're replacing 2 vehicles a year, and we've got 11 in frontline use, then you're replacing 2.
Yeah, we're getting caught up to the fact that in 2023, it'll probably be a request for only 1.
Yeah, that's where I was headed with that, because I know when I first started 6 years ago, we had a lot of high mileage vehicles that needed, so we, you know, over a period of years, we've gradually updated and gotten rid of the higher mileage vehicles, which is good.
When the ones we ordered beginning of this year come in, and plus the 2 that we were gonna order again this year, that puts 4 of our frontline fleet into reserve status. That significantly upgrades our reserve fleet and puts us in a lot better shape.
Yep.
Since your ambulance didn't come in this year, so you'll be under budget on that this year, apparently. 'Cause
Do
you
we
said it won't come in
appropriate it,
till next-
It's in the capital fund. Those get moved into the
Moved capital
417
fund?
fund.
Okay.
Yeah, so the money is already sitting there, the appropriations are
Okay.
there. I'm
Okay. I
reappropriating
get you.
for next year for the ones for.
Yeah, you've briefed us all on the staffing, you know, your staffing initiatives, so I don't have any more questions on that.
If these 2 ambulances, you probably should get a resolution put together and get that done in the next week or so, get it done. And as you stated, we don't pay until you receive them, so.
Correct. I'm just waiting on quotes so I can put the accurate number in the resolution. I was working on one before I came over because Stryker had already sent me back their quote. So I just need to update a quote on the communications equipment and the actual ambulances.
What's your vacancy right now?
2
Two paramedics,
EMT.
2 EMTs?
We have some staff going through the FTO phase right now. When they're done with the FTO phase, then we'll make a decision about who's going to be offered the full-time spots.
Okay. That's
I
pretty
have a
vacancy.
question regarding Strength and Mental Health Program. If Assistant Chief Cochran could update us on Cortico app and what you're doing there. I know you've made great progress.
So Director Fischel and I met with Helpline.
Could you move your mask for the purpose of talking?
Director Fischel and I met with Helpline last week, and they've agreed to look into connecting the Help Now button to Helpline, which would be a great resource. I need to get them some data that they've requested, so I'm waiting on that. I've sent the app out to all of the peers to test it so they can give me some feedback before we roll it out to all of the first responders. I think that we're very close to securing this app for law enforcement as well. We'll know more after the first week of December. So my hope is that that will be available to all 1,000 first responders and their spouses, as well as everyone who's retired. We also have a 3rd mental health clinician that we vetted and that we're going to add to the app, and so I'll be adding her. She just took the peer support training that we had last week, and she will be on the peer support team as well.
Oh, that's great. Could you tell us just a little bit more about the app and what it actually does, how it would really help,
Sure.
not only?
The app has several different sections. There's a Help Now section, and that goes to hopefully Helpline, but it also goes to Fire Strong and a suicide prevention hotline. There's several self-assessments in there that range anywhere from marriage counseling to finances to it's very similar to an EAP, but it's geared towards first responders. You can take those self-assessments and see where you're at, and it is not trackable. And so there's no fear by the first responder of getting in trouble for using that or trying to find means to help themselves in a bad situation. There's also resources in there that they can access. There's a meditation section. There's a fitness and nutrition section. that we're also going to add some more things to, including our nutrition newsletter that I share with Director Houston. Let's see, what else is in there? Sleep sounds. They've thought of everything.
It's huge. That's why she's trying to remember what else is in there. It's
Yes.
like she was saying, there's an area for vetted therapists. You can click on the button, and these are therapists that have been vetted specifically for first responders, are used to working with first responders. The tools that are available, addiction, counseling, all types of stuff is in there. It's a multifaceted wellness app to be used for mental health, dietary, all kinds of stuff.
There's even COVID resources in there.
And that'll be for all first responders in the county, and I know you've reached out to our law enforcement community too, and we're talking about, how many people there? It's like 1,000?
Well, there's 800 fire and EMS in the county approximately, and there's just under 400 law enforcement. 400,
right, okay. Yeah, that's, boy, thank you for your work on that. I mean, that's a great tool, and the privacy of the person using the Cortico app is totally protected, so.
Is there any connection with SEPCO on that?
No, there's not.
So this
It's
is
separate.
completely independent, that's what I thought. I didn't
Yeah,
think we ever
we
got
had-
anywhere with that.
We had approached them to see if they had any interest in providing it SEPCO-wide, but at the time they did not. But that is definitely something that I would love to see happen, thank you, soon. Because I think it's a great need, and it's really kind of a exacerbation, if you would say, on our EAP, but more geared and more specific to first responders. And there's definitely the need there that
Yeah,
I
know,
would like to see
I
them.
talked to him about it, and I got kind of the, we'll look into it response,
Yeah,
which means not likely anything's gonna happen.
Maybe when they see how it works for us here in Delaware County, they'll be open to discussion. There are several states that provide it to all their first responders, and it's paid for by state funds. So there's lots of different options to roll it out or expand it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and the Cortico app, as you're all aware, is paid for, or was a big collaboration of the Pre-Hospital Care Board. So it was a big lift, and obviously Chief Cochran took that head on and still is leading that effort to get it completed. So.
It's great work, just great work.
What's your next station, and when do you think that would be?
It's Medic 11. We're still working with BST&G on collaborating on Medic 11, Station 11 together. After that, I would like to see a collaboration in Orange Township to get Medic 3 into a new station. Those are existing ambulances we already have. As far as actually adding an ambulance, sometime down the road, we would look to add a Medic 12 out to Tri-Township's new station.
That would be the next one then? Okay. That's what I thought. I was wondering what you were thinking, Liz.
Yeah, for me, it's as call volume dictates. Yeah,
Right.
we'll look to add.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Anyone else want to speak? Somebody's been pretty quiet back there. Eric, nothing you want to add?
All set, thank you.
So, well, thank you very much for being here. And so if there's nothing else, then I guess we moved a little quicker than we anticipated. And we will be in recess without objection until, I believe it's 9:30 tomorrow, when we'll have the county
Yeah.
engineer.
I just have
Okay.
one question, just one, it's not for EMS, I mean, that's
Okay.
fine, you can stay. Commissioner Benton, you mentioned, and I just wanted a little clarification on this, you wanted some figures on expenses to year end, you mentioned it the other day, and I just wondered, a forecast,
Yeah.
yeah. What did you,
Well,
What-
it's hard to compare 21 spending, actual spending to 22 budget, because we're looking at 10 months of spending.
Okay,
So what is called a forecast is then projecting over the last couple of months to get an estimate of a full year spend, so you can compare that to the 22 budget.
okay,
That's
so,
what I'm after. That's really helps. That's, in my mind, that's more important than comparing to 21 budget, because 21 budget is
Oh, I
out of
see.
date. You know,
Uh-huh.
the actual spending in 21 is what really should drive the 22 spending.
so you're asking then for what, and how is it broken down then by department?
Same categories, same offices, departments.
And
It just
they would
takes
be
the-
estimating then what they're gonna spend from now till
From
the
the
end
end
of
of
the year?
October through the end of the year.
Through the end of the year?
Last 2 months.
Yeah,
I mean, even if they just took what they spent through the first 2 months, took 10% of it and doubled it, you know, to get a full year projection, that would be more accurate than the
Then-
21 budget.
Well, and the money to these departments to be returned to the county also closes that gap.
Yes.
So we need to,
And that's a more realistic comparison to the increases for 22, because this is what you actually are gonna spend in 21. How does that compare to what you're planning for 22 versus what you expected to spend in 21 versus what you're planning to spend in 22? Because, again, there are oftentimes 5, 10, 15% differences between budget and actual spending.
so you're saying even if you just take
Actuals through October and add 20%,
and add 20%,
that's better than nothing.
then, yeah, would
We-
that,
And we have some information from Raftillus.
Could you-
that we
yeah.
could- We have some information from Raftillus that we could provide you that may be helpful, but it's not by department. It would be countywide
For the general fund.
for the general fund specifically.
Yeah, when we're looking at individual department and offices' budgets for 22, having general fund totals isn't terribly helpful. It's the projected spending, you know, and it gets back to some departments budget very conservatively, some budget realistically. EMS actually is very close to their budgeted
Budget to
spending, and
actual,
actual
yeah.
spending is very close. Other departments like, you know, the juvenile court is Judge Hamanowski said is returning 700,000. Well, that means he budgeted his expenses very conservatively. And that's where it helps us to understand what the 22 numbers, which ones are more realistic and which ones are more conservative.
is that possible to do without, I mean, with each department, just adding like 10%, 20%? I
Yeah,
guess
just
what
take-
you're,
Yeah,
yeah,
real
you're,
simply, take 20% of what they've spent through October, and there's your full year forecast.
yeah,
If we break it down like with the budget books, it'll take a little time, yeah.
what that doesn't account for though is December can fluctuate on the high side or low side depending on the department and their philosophy. I'm choosing words very carefully.
Sure it does.
I think, and I suggested this the other day, simply polling the major players about where do you think you're going to be end of the year, how much you think you're going to be returned to the county, is probably the best number.
Oh, that's,
And I don't think that would take the big departments, not,
yeah.
If
The more
we go-
refined your approach, the better. I mean,
Yeah,
my
I-
whole thinking is, if all you do is just take year-to-date through October and add 20%, that's better than comparing it to
Then, yeah.
2021's budget, because
Yeah,
you know,
I see
those
what you're
numbers
saying.
are off.
at this time of year, the budget flash is irrelevant at this point.
Yeah. It almost is irrelevant.
We could.
The goal is to get as good a number as we can get, so that spread is reduced however much.
Yeah, because a lot of departments show a 5 or 10% increase over 21's budget, but when you look at their actual spending for 21, it's a 20% increase, and we don't ever look at that. So that's, and some of them are, like I said, EMS is right, is very close to budget for spending, so their forecast and actuals are gonna be, their budget and actuals are gonna be very close.
I think if you told the departments we have a shortfall in the sense that expenses are exceeding revenue for the budget that we're preparing, how much money are you going to be returning to help us identify what the real shortfall? That's a positive for them, because the more accurate that number is, the more better shape we're in to.
Well, we get a better ability to look at the increases for 22, you know, which ones are really, you know, just not needed, and how much is more realistic.
Yeah, and drilling down on those by department, we could do by requesting that information from them, because they're going to have a better idea of what their expenses are going to be between now and the end of the year. You know, we probably could estimate that, but there
right,
may be
I
some
mean-
things that we aren't aware of.
Okay.
That they've budgeted for and may not be reflective in, like, the open purchase order
Yeah.
reports or whatever.
Yeah,
So, okay, all
okay,
right, we can do that.
okay.
Thank you.
That's all.
We're good?
That's all I had.
Thank you, Barb.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that.
Well, we're
we
gonna,
were-
again, we got a $14 million gap, and we've gotta close it. And, you know, if somebody's realistically budgeting for next year, then that's not where we should go to get, you know, reduced expense budget.
All right, we'll
This
see
helps
what
a
we
bunch.
can do.
Thanks, guys.
So I'll try this again. If there is nothing else to objection, will be in recess until 9:30 tomorrow for a continuation of the budget meetings, and it'll be with the county engineer at 9:30 tomorrow. Without objection,